help it.
BJ from Board Game Gumbo here with my guest, Dennis Hoyle from Bellwether Games. Speaking of great games, you've got a couple of games out that I want to chat with you about. One of the reasons I got you on the show is Jake Bach and Danielle are always from the Draft Mechanic podcast. Are always talking about Coldwater Crown. They're like your biggest,
great guys.
They're your biggest fans when it comes to that game. I'm dying to try it, and I know you've got an expansion. But before we get to that one, I do want to talk about the sensation of the internet, Mars Open.
Yeah.
Look, I love flicking games. When I was at Dice Tower Con this summer, me and Jack my son Jack, we got enamored with this game, Flip Ships by Kane Klinko. I don't know if you've seen it. Mm-hmm. And so I have a bunch of these flicking games. What, in your mind, because you designed Mars Open, if I'm right?
Yes. I designed it. I like to say I discovered it.
Okay. When you're designing a flicking game, I'm curious, did you think I need to design a flicking game, or did you have an idea for, hey, nobody's invented a golf game yet?
No, here's the story. So
I'm curious.
I made its prototype for a different game, and they used these square cards, and that went nowhere. But the cards sat on my desk, and, when I was just thinking about something else, my hands just reached for the card and started making this shape. I wasn't even thinking about what I was doing. Anyways, the shape for what is now the Mars Open golf ball sat on my desk for probably 6 to 9 months, and I never thought anything about it. It just sat there. I started every now and then I would just kind of tap it and flick it, and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. And I never threw it away for some reason. And eventually I really started paying attention to the fact that, wow, when you flick this thing, it lands the same way no matter how you flick it. Like, it always lands. And so I started thinking maybe this could be a cool component for a game. And I started thinking about maybe it would be a children's game where there are these frogs jumping around, because they kind of hop like frogs.
It's true.
Yeah, and I don't know if you've ever flicked one or not.
I've seen a bunch of the videos.
So they kind of hop like frogs.
Internet sensation.
And why I say discovered it, well, that's part of the reason I say discovered it, but also let me take a step back. Then I decided, no, this is not a children's game, because I started flicking it in ways that, it soared and spun in different arrangements in ways that took a little more skill. And that's when it hit me that it needed to be something simple. And so when your question was what makes a good flicking game, I would just say, I think it needs to be simple. I think it needs to be something you can pick up pretty quickly and understand what's going on without having to learn a lot of rules. But, and then as far as discovery is concerned, it's like, the shape, it's amazing to me that this shape that just ended up my desk is so versatile. Like, even after the Kickstarter campaign was over, I was still discovering new ways to flick this thing that would help me get through specific challenges in the game. So it's really cool that, that I've, been able to have it as a shape for a game. And I think it makes just a really great game piece. And I think I don't know if you're going to get the game or whatever, you get a chance to try it, just experiment with the different ways you can flick it. And that's part of the fun of the game is, it's not just one thing you can do with it. There's a lot of different things you can do with it. And then it's all just, I don't know, how familiar the viewers are with Mars Open tabletop golf, but it's just golf. I mean, the game is, if you've ever played golf or miniature golf, you know how to play Mars Open, except that you have not yet mastered the skill of how to flick this thing.
Right.
And there's a lot of different ways to do it. So
Where
part of the golf.
Where do you see Mars Open going? I mean, it seems like this thing is rife with just almost Carcassoning it with just, expansions and new holes, new things to do. What do you envision for Mars Open?
Yeah, there's a lot of ideas, as you might imagine. I mean, there's so many different things that could be done. I really had to structure myself in choosing stretch goals, because it was like, let's think about stretch goals, and we could do this, we could do that, we could do this, we could do that, and it's like, no, we got to do one thing first and do it well, and do the next thing and do that well. We're going to take it one step at a time, because right now we've done a successful Kickstarter. I just delivered the files to the printer, so it's probably going to arrive to backers in June, get on store shelves July.
So on schedule then.
Yeah, but then there's this question mark of how well, received it's going to be in the marketplace. Are people going to play it and teach their friends, and then are their friends going to buy a copy for their families and keep playing it, or is it going to have a short lifespan? So, if it's more the former where people are really excited about it and it continues to sell, then there's a lot that can be done with it. There's one expansion in particular that I think is probably going to be first. I'm not going to give any details on that per se.
Okay.
But
we're always willing for a scoop here.
Yeah. But
we got a scoop from Jamie Stegmeyer last week.
I know.
Give it to us.
I guess this would be new, but if we do end up going that route, that would be launching probably later this year on Kickstarter, okay, as like a small Kickstarter. So that's not something I've mentioned, I don't think, publicly in any way. So there you go. But
there it is, the scoop. Would you agree that Mars Open is a perfect convention type of game, that when people see it at a convention, it's one of those things like when you walk by flip ships and you're watching people, poking those rocket ships into the big box. That's the kind of thing I want to try it. Don't you think Mars Open kind of has that too?
It is. Well, I was at BGG-Con demoing it at the booth. I don't know if you
I missed actually, some of the crew was there, so I'll have to ask them if they saw you there. So
yeah. What we would do is, as people would walk by, we would just say, "Hey, just flick this thing. Just come up and flick it." And more often than not, people would get drawn into it, because once you start flicking it, then you start flicking it different ways, and then you have to flick. Then you have to flick through the whole, at least one hole, and then whenever you sink your ball into the hole the very first time, like I can visually, like I can watch somebody and like the light goes off in their head. Like as soon as they sink it, it's like that felt good, and then they want to continue playing. So there's definitely some presence there. I haven't noticed so much just immediate like awe or like huge interest from people just walking by, because there's a lot of pink. Maybe the pink turns some people off, but
there is a lot of pink.
I think the more there's a lot of pink. But I think
is
the
that
more
an homage to the Red Planet, I guess.
Yeah, I just felt like the Red Planet is always so, like, the artwork is always so like dull and boring. I'm like, we need to do something that's fun looking. Like Mars doesn't have to be so dull all the time. So that's why it's pink.
It's eye catching.
Yeah, we'll see. So yeah, I mean, people have stopped by and looked at it, but I'm interested to see whether or not it catches on more.
Any plans for Mars Open at conventions this summer? You're going to be demoing it?
Yeah, I'm
still working on that.
Still working on it. It's not going to be, I wanted to release it maybe at BGG Spring, or another convention I'm going to in Houston is Comic Palooza. That's in May.